الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره ونستعين به سبحانه وتعالى ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ به جل وعلا من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. عباد الله، أنصحكم ونفسي الآثمة بتقوى الله وأحثكم وإياها على طاعته وأحذركم وإياها وبال مخالفته جل وعلا ومعصيته. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا شيء قبله ولا شيء معه ولا شيء مثله ولا شيء يعجزه، قديم بلا ابتداء دائم بلا انتهاء، لا يفنى ولا يبيد ولا يكون إلا ما يريد. وأشهد أن سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبده المصطفى ورسوله المرتضى ونبيه المجتبى، وأنه خاتم الأنبياء وإمام الأتقياء وسيد المرسلين وحبيب رب العالمين. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره الكافرون. صل اللهم وسلم وبارك على هذا النبي الأمين وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين، وارض اللهم عن صحابة رسول الله المخلصين المحسنين المتقين، ولا سيما الخلفاء الراشدون والأئمة المهديون، سيدنا مولانا أبي بكر الصديق وسيدنا مولانا عمر بن الخطاب وسيدنا مولانا عثمان بن عفان وسيدنا ومولانا علي بن أبي طالب. وارض اللهم عن من اتبع النبي بإحسان وتمسك بالثقلين إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى: وابتغ فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا وأحسن كما أحسن الله إليك. This is an ayah in Surah Qasas. وابتغ فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة. It means use and whatever Allah has given you to attain and to achieve what? الدار الآخرة, the day of judgment, the last day, the last life, the next life. ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا, and do not forget your share from what? From this life, from dunya. وأحسن, and do good, just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done good to you. وَإِنْ تُعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. So many ni'mah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. So, وَابْتَغِي, the meaning of that, وَابْتَغِي فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَأَحْسِنْ. Seek from what Allah gave you, all the capabilities, the money, the health, the wealth, the power. Seek the next life, the Dar al-Akhirah, and do not forget your share from the dunya. Dinosaurs. Last time we talked about Mars. Today we're going back to Earth. We're talking about dinosaurs. I know all of you know dinosaurs. Basically, dinosaurs, they're huge creations, huge creatures, I want to say. Huge creatures that supposedly have they walk on 4 feet, very long neck, very dominating, very powerful. Dinosaurs. Scientists, according to scientists here again, Scientists say that dinosaurs lived in an era. Of course, many scientists, they divide the history of Earth into two periods, two eras. The first era, they call it the Mesozoic era. And that starts about what? 248 million years ago, according to them. Let's say 250, so we make it even. We like to make it even. 250 million years ago. What's 2 more million years ago? 250. Anyway, it's all a hypothesis anyway, yet to be proven. But let's go with the theory, and that's the beauty of science. You can go with theories and you can discuss them. So they said that the Mesozoic era started about 250 million years ago and lasted about 180 million years. That's the Mesozoic era. And that era has ended already 65 million years ago. Now we live in a Cenozoic era, supposedly, from that 65 million years till now, until this day in life. Now, scientists also divide that Mesozoic era into three eras, three periods of time, in which dinosaurs, of course, existed. Of course, just to give you a little idea of how Earth looked like back in the Mesozoic time, number one, the beginning of the Mesozoic time, Earth was warm, was much warmer than it is right now. So that breeze maybe is not as good. But the seasons were mild. Number two, the oceans, the water in the oceans was much higher than it is right now. Also, the continents were not like that, as you all know, and all of you are educated. The continents, Earth was only one continent, basically, more or less. One more thing also, there's many things, but we don't want to go too much now into that. But also, there were no polar ice. Now you see polar ice with the North Pole and the South Pole. At that time, there was no polar ice. And scientists say, well, somewhere in the middle of that Mesozoic era, actually the first era of the Mesozoic time is called the Triassic era. So we have three. We have Triassic, we have Jurassic, and then we have the Cretaceous, I think. If my memory helps me. So all these eras, 180 million years. So scientists say towards the middle of the Triassic era is basically the appearance of dinosaurs. They appeared and they started growing, and actually because of their size and power and might, they dominated everything. Earth was only one continent dominated by dinosaurs. Of course, then you go into the Jurassic era, and all you probably have seen Jurassic Park, pretty much. What really points out in the Jurassic era is the appearance or the evolution of birds, like the pterosaurs, for example. You know these, if you've seen them, creatures that look pretty much like lizards with wings, fly, and all these things. And then the last era in the Mesozoic period is the era that is called Cretaceous. And the Cretaceous era basically is when flowering plants started to appear. Now we don't want to go too much in details because everyone has different properties. Show us some other time. But that time was ended with an extinction of the dinosaurs that lived, that dominated, did everything. One, of course, asks himself right away the question of dinosaurs being so huge and so massive and so powerful. How can they go into extinction? What really made them extinct? There are two facts, number one, that we have first we have to take a look at before we go any further. Number one, this is what scientists drew actually out of the whole scenario. Number one, that evolution necessitates extinction. In other words, every organism that undergoes evolution will undergo extinction. That includes us eventually. We're coming. Just like they were extinct. You know, there's going to be a time where we're not going to be able to adapt and we're going to be extinct as well. Of course, inshallah, at that time we'll be in the next life. And in paradise, us and human family. That's one fact. Fact is that organisms that undergo evolution will go into extinction. Number one fact, which is also very shocking, over 99%, more than 99% of organisms that ever lived on this earth have gone extinct. More than 99%. Now the first thing that we want to do, and everything we want to do by nature, selective, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala empowered and created this nature with is what? Resist that. Why? Why do we have to go extinction? Why do we have to leave? Why do we have to die? That's a question that people always ask themselves. Reverse aging. You know, all these creams that they sell you for $300-400, especially for our sisters. The reverse aging process. But let's not talk about that, inshallah, some other time. But what is it? Why is extinction a necessity then? This is what scholars says, and two things cause extinction, and this is very important, and I want you to concentrate on that. Extinction is due to two things. Number one, the inability, or organisms are unable to adapt to new changes in their environment. Number one. Whatever organism it is, whatever entity it is unable to adapt to changes in its environment. That's one cause for extinction. Can't adapt to changes in the environment, you go extinct. Number two, organisms cannot effectively compete with other entities in their environment. And that's exactly what happened to the mighty dinosaurs. Mighty dinosaurs, for two reasons. Number one, they couldn't adapt to the new environment. Number two, they couldn't effectively compete with in their environment. More than that, to prove to you that the extinction process is still going on, not from the dinosaurs on it. Very recently, dodo. Many of you probably heard about dodo. We call, or not we, but some people call slow people, they call them dodo. You're slow, or what they call stupid. Dodo, stupid. But really, dodo is a name for a bird that went extinct about 200 years ago. It's a heavy bird. If you want to think of a chicken, a little bit modified chicken, heavier, slower, does not fly, lived off some Indian islands, in the Indian Ocean actually, not the Indian Islands. That bird was named dodo and lived, and the nest was ground-based nest. That bird could not adapt to what? To the changes in the environment, because humans, well, you know, there's a bird sitting. So what you saw right away, meat on the grill. So you got the bird and grilled it. So after a while, the bird is going to go extinct. Why? Because the bird itself was not able to adapt, was not able to protect, was unaware of the dangers in its environment, could not see the environment, disorientation, defenseless. So went extinct in 1840, something like that. Dodo. Now don't confuse dodo with Dodi. Dodi is the Egyptian billionaire that passed away with the Princess of England, Diana. Dodi is different than Dodo. Don't want you to get confused here. Now, may Allah bless all the Muslims and have mercy on their souls. And make our ends good endings. May Allah make our last days our best days. Let's forget about Dodo and Dodi and go now to more important things. The ayah that we have. وابتغِ فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا وأحسن كما أحسن الله إليك. a connection, and I always stress on the connection because everything is connected. تلازم ما بين الدين والدنيا. There is talazum, there is connection between deen and dunya, always. Everything is interconnected. We've stressed and we laid the basis for this for a very long time now. There is connection between deen and dunya all the time. And Islam stresses the connection between the deen and the dunya. التلازم بين الدين والدنيا, between the religion and between life. The reason, there's actually a few theories for extinction of dinosaurs. We haven't covered. I didn't want to cover, but let me, because it's really, actually, it just appeared to me that one of the theories is very important. Now, the theories, like the definition, the definition of extinction, because the entities or the organisms or whatever are unable to adapt with new changes. Well, what happened to dinosaurs, for example? Many people say, like the nemesis theory, it says that, for example, there was a comet and there was something that hit Earth and made it really hot, whatever. It was unsuitable. They could not survive. Dinosaurs couldn't survive. There's another theory that we should really pay attention to, and I like that theory. I like that theory very much indeed. Listen to that. Reasons for extinction of dinosaurs. They said that the brain firing power, the neurons in the brain of the dinosaur, how big is a dinosaur? Huge. But the brain of the dinosaur was not fast enough to relay, that's a theory, to relay proprioception and nervous signals from the body, from the surrounding environment to the brain so the brain can act and protect itself. In other words, if you're walking on the street and sometimes you feel people walking around you, even though you don't see them, but you feel that. Maybe due to heat, temperature, change of place, time, whatever it is, and your brain picks up these signals and you take immediately a defensive position, or someone comes and you immediately see that person is coming to attack you, immediately you take a defensive position. Right? I want to attack you right away. Why? Well, our brain is apparently fast enough, for most of us, alhamdulillah, fast enough to realize that what? That there's danger coming, take position, defend yourself. What the theory about the dinosaurs and the extinction of dinosaurs is that the brain of the dinosaurs, the firing of the brain and the messages, the electric messages were not fast enough to reach the dinosaur's brain so the brain can give commands to the dinosaur body parts to move or hide or take defensive positions. Very important. So that's why it became what? The dinosaur could not, even though it's huge, it's mighty, it's dominating, but it could not, it could not survive. It could not withstand, it could not adapt to the environment, and it could not effectively compete with the organisms or the entities that were alive at that time. Islam comes as a religion for deen and dunya. And Islam did not come only for people to do one thing rather than the other. And that's why the religions in Islam, Al-Islam Deen Allah, came and said, this Islam is actually knowledge. And Imam Muslim narrates in his Sahih, in the introduction of the Sahih of Sahih Muslim, by Ibn Sirin, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, إِنَّ هَذَا الدِّينَ لَعِلْمٍ. This is the problem. Now we changed the Islamic religion from knowledge, which is ilm, into what? Into rituals. In other words, appearances, times, dates, celebrations, rituals. And he forgot that this is actually science, ilm. Moreover, not only that, we went further down to say that we should separate those separatists. Separatists, they want to separate the deen from dunya. And they have an idea that Islam came only for deen. And all you're supposed to do as a Muslim is just sit and pray and don't do anything else. Allah will give. SubhanAllah. Who denies that Allah gives? Allah gives for everybody. Allah gives the believers and the unbelievers. Allah gives the insects. Everybody is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But look at this dangerous theory. And it's very dangerous, and actually it's been dwelling within Muslims, of course propagated by ignorance. Islam is only for deen. Dunya, forget it. Allah is answering them in the Quran. وَابْتَغِ فِي مَا أَتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget your share of the dunya. وَأَحْسِنْ. And we will come to the explanation of that. The first government ever to focus on education and higher learning, the first government to ever put and establish a department for education and make education a compulsory and a mandatory subject was the government of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is the first government. The Hukuma of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was not simply teaching people everything. The Masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was teaching people everything, was a source for knowledge in every kind of knowledge you can think of. هذا مسجد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, people came and took social sciences. People came and took religious sciences, of course, but they took social sciences. They took medicinal sciences. Medicine was taught right there in the Masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is where medicine. Go back to the hadith of medicine. How many hadith you see in medicine? قال محمد صلى الله عليه وآله Rasulullah. What else do you want? Islam does not separate, does not see that separation in those ignorant minds between deen and dunya. Deen is dunya actually, and dunya is for deen. In other words, you use dunya for your deen. And you utilize what you have, what Allah has given you in this dunya, why? For your deen, because deen is not there to tell you should just go and only pray. Deen tells you to work. Deen tells you to be creative. Deen tells you to be genius. Deen tells you to go and discover. Deen tells you to go and learn physics, and tells you to go and learn math, and tells you to go and learn chemistry, and tells you to go to learn geology and geography. This is what deen is. Sahaba radiallahu anhum, you think now when we read about the Sahaba, if you read the book Hadith Sahaba, for example, you say, MashaAllah, you see all knowledgeable, but do you think the Sahaba were knowledgeable at the beginning? Of course not, no. How can they be knowledgeable? Who taught them? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Many of the Sahaba, most actually, not many, most of the Sahaba were unlearned at the beginning. Unlearned. Older people, most of them were older people. Most of them were from a low, so-called socio-economic levels, at the beginning especially. Who followed? The slaves, the people that didn't have really the power. The people that had the power, they didn't want to follow. How can we follow? We lose our positions, we can't follow. Because if you follow, you lose your position. I don't want to follow. So, many of them, most of them were unlearned, unlettered. But what happened to those Sahaba? Many of them were men, many of them were women, many of them were old, very old, young, all kinds, all ages, all backgrounds. What did they do? The first thing is they learned. They learned. They learned. And after they learned, they became teachers themselves, and then they taught. Someone says, because when we teach the religious knowledge, many people say, well, you know, I'm too old now. I mean, my mother is 60 years old. Can she learn? She has to learn. Well, the Sahabiyat, many of the female Sahaba were also old. They still learned. Many of them fought. Many of them fought in wars with the female Sahaba. One time, we'll talk about the role of women in Islam, but that's not our topic right now. So Sahaba learned. Acquired that knowledge. Where was that knowledge? In the center of knowledge. Where was the center of knowledge? The Masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Moreover, I'll give you another example. And the life of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is full of examples of knowledge in the deen and dunya. Both. After the Battle of Badr. After the Battle of Badr. Market Badr Kubra. What happened? Muslims took POWs, prisoners of war. POWs, please come. We treat you according to the Geneva Convention? No. We treat you according to the convention that we signed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Much more merciful than the Geneva Convention. Islam is the religion of mercy. And the Prophet of Islam is the Prophet of mercy. And that mercy was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is more merciful than His slaves on His slaves. Bottom line. But let's not talk about that. Inshallah, one other time also we'll talk about human rights, remind me. But what happened after the Battle of Badr? After the Battle of Badr, those POWs, the Prophet ﷺ said, well, you know, if you want to be free, we will give you a very good opportunity. Any one of you who knows how to read and write? The people said, I do. They step forward, teach Muslims how to read and write, and then thank you very much. Teach them how to read and write. Teach them sciences. The first university, dear brothers and sisters, that was established in the Madina of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that university has fine graduates, and the graduates are the Sahaba and Ahl Bayt of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those are the fine graduates of that university. And don't ever think that that was not a university. It was a university by all means. More than that. Imam Zayn al-Abidin Ali ibn Hussein, one of the Imams of Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, he had a university. Where was his university? In his home. The university was there in his home. University of Zayn al-Abidin. How many people graduated from the University of Zayn al-Abidin? 100,000 scholars throughout his life. 100,000 scholars graduated from one scholar. 100,000 scholars. He used to, how did he do it? Because he had that mandatory staying home. He couldn't leave home by the government at that time. So he used to what? Go and buy the slaves. Buy slaves. At that time you could buy slaves. So he went and bought slaves, lots of slaves, and he had a huge place, huge land in the desert, and he would bring these slaves and he would give them a crash course for 1 year. 1 year crash course. You have to study. After that 1 year, you say, where are you from? I'm from Yemen, I'm from Arabia, I'm from this, I'm from that. You're free. Go and teach your people now. Everything. Jabir bin Hayyan, the chemists, the first people that, chemists, the Al-Razi, all those people, the philosophers, the chemists, the physicists, the one who discovered the blood circulation, all those people, where do you think they graduated from? Masajid. The mosques graduated them. They were fine graduates of the extension university of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those people who tried to say, well, you know, religion is not supposed to only be, you know, you should pray, fast, and that's all you have to do. Then you're a good Muslim. And if you do anything else, a'udhu billah, you're wasting your time on other things. Moreover, some people now in some masajid, in many of the Muslim countries, if you say, well, I would like to, let's say, have a lectures for Arabic language, or English language, or German, or French, or physics, or chemistry. What is this? This is a masjid. You're trying to teach something else in a masjid? This is a masjid. Huh? Now you tell me you want to teach Arabic language. Tomorrow you're going to come and tell me you're going to use my school to teach physics. Maybe mathematics. Huh? There's a problem when they see it. Ignorance. Do you see where we're going? That separation of that deen and dunya. But that separation was not there according to the Quran. Muslims were only successful and were successful when what? Let's go back to history, and history is the best witness. And if you go back to history, what do you see? You see that Muslims were superior when what? When they were superior in deen and dunya. When we lost deen, we lost dunya. Look at that. Everybody. Losing deen, losing dunya. Please come forward, dear brothers, so some people can say barakallahu feekum.
People that are parked in the office complex.
Park in the next parking lot?
No, the ones that are parked in the office parking complex, right across the street, getting thrown.
Please, if anyone has his car across the parking complex where the offices are, please move them because they're trying to tow them. So anyone who has his car parked there, please move it out on the other one.
In the process of being killed.
In the process of being killed. Right. Come forward, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina. History shows you. And before I go to history, let me take you back to the first history, to the madrasa of the Khulafa al-Rashidun. We said that we are always stressing back on the life of the Prophet and his graduates, the first students, the Khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the time of Umar ibn Khattab, radiyallahu anhu, that Sayyidina Umar, there were people that came to the masjid and they said, one of them said, I'm going to have 3 of them, they said, we will fast every day and we will pray the whole night and we will give zikr and everything the whole day. He said, this is what we're going to do. Islam. Of course, Sayyidina Umar, being Sayyidina Umar, he always had a solution for these people. Those people who want to separate deen from dunya. And he had something called dirra. Dirra is a stick about this big, and the head of the stick is a little bit, it's bulgy, it's like a little head. So he took that dirra with him, and he went to the masjid. And he hit those people. Islam, he said, go and work. Go and be with your family. Go and contribute to your society. Go and be a financial strength. Go and be an educational strength. Go and strengthen the Muslim Ummah from everywhere. Everybody has to pray. Everybody has to fast. Everybody has to do zakah. The farad of Allah must be maintained anyway. Sayyidina Umar. Moreover, and actually the life of the Khulafa Rashidin, the 4 of them, it's full of these examples. I'll give you another example in the life of Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, one time, somebody came to him and said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is people in the masajid that have been coming here and they've been telling people stories. True stories. No fairy tales, but things that we all like to hear, because it makes us feel good. About the old days and how things and the unforeseen and all these things. Huh? Sayyidina Ali came to the masjid and ordered those people out of the masjid. And he said to them, if you ever come to this masjid telling stories again, I will whip you. Sitting, taking people's time all day long, tell them stories? Teach them knowledge. Teach them something. Teach them sciences. Therefore, dear brothers and sisters, it is important and it is integrated. Islam integrates everything, integrates the deen and the dunya. The meaning of the ayah basically, use what Allah gave you. وَابْتَغِ فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ. Use what Allah has given you from endowments, from ni'mah, from sights, from hearing, from money, from kids, from families, from connections, whatever. So you can achieve and be successful in the in the hereafter. But don't forget your share from dunya. What does that mean? Do good in the dunya. Use the dunya to help you be somebody. Islam does not teach laziness. Islam does not teach dependability. Islam does not teach you that you should rely on, you say, well, I will worship Allah. Somebody was telling me, he said, well, if you are sincere to go to Hajj, supposedly some scholar told him, of course, scholar, many question marks, because we have so many scholars lately. But that scholar told him, if you're very sincere about going to Hajj, you read the Quran and open the book and you'll find $50 there or $500 and that will take you to Hajj. SubhanAllah, khurafat, since how long are we going to live like this? How long? How long are we going to be under anesthesia? When is it going to be time for Muslims to wake up? Because if we don't wake up, we will undergo extinction. Just like the dinosaurs went extinction because they were unable to adapt to their environment. They were unable to compete effectively in their society. That's why they went extinct. That's the reason I brought this example. Because if Muslims cannot adapt to their environment, they cannot be superior in physics and math and chemistry and computers and space and everything, then they can never be anything anyway. Islam does not teach laziness. Islam does not teach ignorance. Islam does not teach violence or narrow-mindedness. Islam teaches facts. Islam is the deen of facts, not fiction. Islam is the deen of substance, not suspicion. And ignorance in the religion is so high. And sometimes, excuse me, but I really feel affected. You know, some guy who doesn't know how to make wudu, and he comes and tells you, well, what do you think about this sect, and what do you think about that sect, and he discusses, doesn't have no idea about anything. Huh? Go learn wudu first. Go learn how to do salah first, and then we can talk about these things. If we cannot effectively compete in our society, and by making the masajid the center for knowledge, for every kind of knowledge, Islamic knowledge first and foremost, most definitely, and after that all kinds of knowledge, physics and math. You remember what happened in Baghdad when the Tatar came and the Mughals, right? You all know this. What happened? It was said that the rivers in Baghdad, the water of the river was changed to blue and black. Why? Because of the ink. Because the Tatar and the Mughals, what they did is they took all the books from the masajid, and what did they do? They dumped it in the river. Civilizations went away, knowledge, all kinds of knowledge. Not only religious, all kinds of knowledge went there. You see? Where was this knowledge? Where was these things? They were all in the masajid. In the masajid that were the center for knowledge and education. And peace and prosperity, because the masajid are the centers to bring the world prosperity. Not only for the people that attend the masajid. The masjid should be the light where everything starts from and everything goes from there to ensure people's everlasting happiness and peace. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا كما امر واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له وحده من يهتدي به وكفى واشهد ان سيدنا مولانا محمدا صلى الله عليه واله وسلم خاتم الانبياء المعتبر صلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على هذا النبي وعلى اله اهل الفقه والنظر والعلم والاثر وعلى من باثارهم اقتفى وابتكر. Dear brothers and sisters, it's very vital for us to understand that religion, that Islam as a religion, as a comprehensive religion, came to ensure our happiness in this life and in the year after. To make sure that we are well and superior in ourselves, because when we are well, the one Graham Bell or Edison, when they discovered light, I don't say invented, when they discovered light, who benefited from light? Everybody. You are benefiting from light. People who invented computers or discovered computers, everybody's benefiting from them. Muslims need to be on that front of discovery again. Muslims need to take that. They need to learn their religion first, but they also need to learn other things. So we can be back on the front again. Once we lose the deen, we lose the dunya, and we lose the dunya, we lose the deen, believe me. And those people who try to separate the deen from dunya basically are losers in both. Ignorance in deen and dunya. And they want to protect their ignorance by shielding themselves off. That's the whole reason. And we have to kind of wake up, because if we want to reach somewhere, if we want to get somewhere, we have to go after the path of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so we do not undergo extinction. Islam will never be extinct, but Muslims may be, if they don't follow the book of Allah. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وآل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين وأعل يا مولانا كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم من أراد بالإسلام والمسلمين خيرا فوفقه إليه، ومن أراد بهم غير ذلك فاجعل دائرة